Good afternoon. My name is Dustin Speakman. I'm the Director of Community Services for the Ohio Association of Foodbanks. We are Ohio's largest charitable response to hunger, representing the 12 Feeding America affiliated food banks, and by extension, there are over 3,300 food pantries, soup kitchens, homeless shelters, and other emergency food programs. If you're like most people, you look at this family behind me and you think you can make a few assumptions. I would assume that they're a solidly middle-class family. Obviously a nuclear family, the mom, the dad, and the two kids. They're obviously from the 70s, given the dad's major comb-over action and the mom's poofy and frosted hair. What you don't know about this family is that the dad recently returned from Vietnam. We also don't know that his grandfather served in President Roosevelt's Civilian Conservation Corps, which is now AmeriCorps NCCC. That grandfather that worked for Roosevelt's CCC Corps saved up his money and resettled his family in Laurelville, Ohio, which, as you can see, is about an hour and a half south of Columbus in the heart of Appalachian, Ohio. He decided to put his family all the way at the end of a dirt road called California Holler. If you're familiar with Appalachians, you know we say holler and not hollow. So they were really way out in the middle of nowhere. He built a decent life for his family, given that they were in extreme poverty. They all grew up and settled in the area. Laurelville was the type of place, I think, that during the day the kids would be gone and they would be safe and they would be cared for, and they didn't have to come home until the street lights were on. I think it was a great place for someone to grow up. The kids in the family were great kids. The sister was in majorettes and softball. The little boy was in Little League. You can see in this picture he was elected Mr. Laurelville Old Time Fireman's Festival 1981. From these pictures, you also don't know that the family was very well respected in their community. They were well liked, friends with everyone. You also don't know that the dad was an alcoholic. Everything changed for that family in 1982. The dad was no longer in the picture, and the mom and the two kids swiftly slid into extreme poverty. By this time, the little boy was in third grade. He had been to 6 different schools throughout Appalachia, also in Maryland, Delaware, in North Carolina. By the time he would graduate from high school in 1992, he would have attended over a dozen schools. You also can't tell from this picture that the little boy was often on the verge of hunger. The Christmas that this picture was taken, the little boy who was used to getting tons of presents from Santa when his parents were together got 2 G.I. Joe action figures. But he didn't realize they were poor. His mom always made sure that they had something to eat. He may have not felt full and may have not had the food he wanted, but there was always something there to eat. And by now you've probably figured out that that little boy's me. The road from blonde to bald can sometimes be very short. I was the first person, except for my father, to graduate high school, let alone go to college. I studied French and history in North Carolina with the intent of teaching. I got sidetracked into the corporate world in becoming a buyer for a corporate buyer for furniture, which is big, obviously, in North Carolina. Took me to Dallas, Texas, and long story short, ended up back in Ohio working for several divisions of a large retail apparel corporation. My sole mission at that time in my life was to make money and make as much money as I possibly could. Growing up poor, I felt like I needed to have a huge bank account, lots of credit cards, and great car, great clothes, those kinds of things. I was making good money, but I was also burning out. Climbing the corporate ladder was wearing me down, all of the travel that's involved in corporate buying, and I also didn't really feel good about what I was doing. I was buying backpacks and bucket caps for primarily well-to-do kids that they could buy in very overpriced stores. Around this time, I met my partner for the past 12 years, who was a VISTA member. Every morning he would get up and go to school and go to work and feel really good about himself. He would come home feeling like he really accomplished something. He did something for his community. And so, after seeing all of that, I threw caution to the wind and my savings and joined AmeriCorps VISTA at 28 years old. I served my first term developing after-school programming for at-risk youth through the Ohio State University Department of African Studies Community Extension Center. Imagine answering the phone having to say that name. One of the proudest moments in my service was when I was able to take the first Science Olympiad team not to come from a school district but from a community center to the National Science Olympiad. It was great to see all of those non-white faces coming into a sea of what was primarily Caucasian and Asian faces. They didn't do so well. They placed fourth in a few of the activities, but the fact that they were there was a huge thing. I spent my second term as a VISTA leader for Family and Community Services Incorporated in Ohio. My 2 terms in VISTA really changed my whole thinking about life. Suddenly, making money was no longer important, serving my community was. Shortly after that, I joined the staff at the Ohio Association of Foodbanks. I was a consultant on a program called My Medicare Matters when Medicare Part D was rolled out, and I also did outreach on the Home Energy Assistance Program, or HEAP. At about this time, we were presented with a program called the Benefit Bank. It's an online service that enables a trained counselor to sit with a lower moderate income person and help them apply for a vast array of work support programs, benefits, tax credits, free tax assistance, and even FAFSA. It was all about changing the way that we serve the poor. We were able to help them complete an application for food stamps that would then populate the application for Home Energy Assistance Program, meaning that you wouldn't have to go to the Job and Family Service Office for your food stamps and then go over to the Community Action Agency for your home energy assistance. You could do it all in one spot. So thinking about how to take that program to scale, I immediately thought VISTA, because that's what VISTA is all about, creating capacity, increasing sustainability. So in July of 2006, we received our first AmeriCorps VISTA grant of 12 members. We actually only placed 9 that first year, but these were 9 phenomenal VISTA members. They really laid the groundwork for everything that was to come after. They recruited organizations to become benefit bank sites, and they trained the volunteers and the staff at those organizations to be Ohio Benefit Bank counselors. Our strategy was one of early adoption. So a lot of the counties, as you'll see in my next graph, a lot of the counties in Ohio didn't want anything to do with the benefit bank at first. They thought they knew how they were delivering their services. In Ohio, it's a county-devolved system for public benefits, so it's local control at the county level. Many of the counties wanted nothing to do with us. They thought they were doing fine. So as you can see, in 2006, we had a handful of sites in Hamilton and Franklin counties. That's Columbus and Cincinnati. And by 5 years later, all the skeptics came on board. All 88 counties in Ohio had a benefit bank site, at least one. Thank you. We took the results from each step in our process and used those results for development, grants, donations. I can tell you that data equals dollars in the nonprofit world, and more dollars equals more service provided to the people who need it the most. We used our data to help get a large state grant to support our work, and we were actually able to hire almost every one of those VISTAs back there on that page as regional coordinators. We continued to build on the results of the previous year using data and also collecting stories. While data is incredibly important, story collection is also important. You want to be able to put a face and a name with the programs that you're running. Over the years, our VISTA members trained over 10,000 Ohio Benefit Bank counselors. Those 10,000 Ohio Benefit Bank counselors, in turn, have returned over $1.3 billion in work support benefits, tax credits, free tax assistance, and other benefits. In 2009, we were approached by a visionary leader in our Corporation for National Community Service state office, Tina Duffy, to take on a role as an intermediary organization, meaning that we would expand initially to 30 members, and then we were able to effectively and efficiently make grants of 1 or 2 VISTA members here and there to smaller nonprofits that at that time the state office didn't have the network to be able to do. Fortunately, today they're able to do that much better than we are, and we're no longer in the intermediary position that we were. We hit our peak at 80 full-time VISTA members and 200 AmeriCorps VISTA Summer Associates, making us one of the largest state-based AmeriCorps VISTA programs in the country. At this time, we also brought in a team of 30 AmeriCorps state members, and we worked with them for 4 years. We even brought in a team of AmeriCorps NCCC members in 2009. They came to us from St. Bernard Parish, where they were doing rebuilding from Hurricane Katrina, and then they came to us and did free tax assistance for 10 weeks in Ohio, and then they went off to do brush fires somewhere in Kansas. We also expanded our Summer Associate Program to 200 members. Those 200 members serve at summer food service program sites around the state of Ohio, increasing participation and at the same time increasing capacity to serve more children. In this picture, you can see our distinguished former AmeriCorps VISTA Director, Mary Strasser, front and center there. Mary came in to give the oath of service to our VISTA Summer Associates that year. Today, we've pivoted away from the Ohio Benefit Bank because the Ohio Benefit Bank is fully sustainable without VISTA resources, which is what VISTA is all about. Now we're doing a lot more with workforce development and financial literacy. In addition to developing and implementing programs like the Ohio Benefit Bank, since 2006, VISTA members serving with us have secured nearly $3 million in cash and in-kind donations, recruited and coordinated over 30,000 volunteers who've served 300,000 hours of service. I'm going to leave you with just a couple of points. First, even the poorest child of Appalachia can grow up to make a difference in other people's lives. Second, I want to reinforce this again. Data equals dollars equals more people served. And finally, in your bags, you have a paper plate. It's part of our paper plate campaign. Each one of those paper plates has a message on it that was written by a client of that food pantry or by a volunteer of that food pantry. So I'd encourage you to take a look at those and see the real face of who we're actually serving. Thank you.